Hey folks, I'm Papa Boris, and we're doing another 20 minutes till dawn guide. I've done what I think are the two most powerful builds in the game, the Elemental build with lightning and submachine guns, and the Summons build with the Raven. Today we're going to do something a little bit more intimate, alright? We're not going to rely on summons to kill things for us or weird effects to kill things for us. We're going to play with my favorite gun, and this is going to be mostly just about actually killing enemies yourself up close and personal. Now I'm going to play with the shotgun, and there are a lot of good synergies for the shotgun because shotguns reload a lot, so you can be Luna and make some black holes. You can be Katana and make swords, but you know, we're just going to go personal. We're going to do all the killings ourselves, and that means I'll just be Diamond. Diamond's thing is she just has a bunch of HP. That's it. There is some synergy with health, although this is probably not the most powerful choice, but I will mention that shotgun is like the second weapon here, and Diamond is the second character, so this is something that people are very likely to have unlocked early in their 20 minutes till dawn career, and we're going to make this happen. I'm playing again with no runes on Darkness 0. We'll, if people are interested, do another round of guide videos where I do the same builds, but on Darkness 15 with full runes, and for now, let's go ahead and start. The shotgun is my favorite weapon. It's just hats off to the designer for coming up with so many different weapons that all feel so different. Here's the shotgun. It's short range, it fires quickly, but there's only 2 shells in the chamber, and the early gameplay with this is just so fun and so satisfying. If when playing with the other builds, you've ever gotten annoyed about the fact that enemies die off screen and you can't pick up the experience, then this is definitely the weapon for you, because as long as you don't pick a character that summons stuff or has some other weird bonuses, every single enemy dies very close to you and you get to pick all of the experience up yourself. Well, for a time anyway. That may change. As far as the upgrades go, we're going to take the shotgun approach, which is where there's not necessarily like any specific upgrades that we're pushing for. We want to just try to unlock as many useful upgrade trees as possible and just maximize the odds of having useful upgrades available every time. There are definitely some upgrades that are not super helpful. For example, we don't really care too much about rapid fire because the shotgun already fires pretty rapidly. There is some merit to having bullets bounce. There is some merit to getting an extra shell in the chamber, but for the most part, like, this would be just kind of useless. We obviously don't want any summons. So we want to try to increase the odds that when a level up happens, one of the options is from a tree that offers some use. That being said, there is one particularly useful item here that I am very happy to see early, which is Frost. I think Frost goes very well with the shotgun because things are going to be coming up really close, and freezing enemies is extremely helpful. So this is one of the more important upgrades in my opinion. That said, I'll definitely be happy to take Magnetism because we want to play with Glare, and this tree has things that improve your vision range. And then the Curse is actually not too bad either, though it's not something I'm going to prioritize. You could if you wanted to, because when enemies explode and make bullets from one of the other upgrade trees, having them get cursed and then take your shotgun damage is worthwhile. All right, so now it's not the strongest upgrade, like for this point in the early game, but I am very glad to have the Frost available because, you know, sometimes you want an upgrade and you just go 20 levels and never get it. I've had runs where there's like one particular tree that just never shows up for some reason. It's bizarre and frustrating, but it can happen. All right, here we had maybe the most important upgrade. This is the one I would probably take over all others, which is good because the rest is crap, and that is Quick Hands. The reason this is so important is that you reload a lot of the time, and reloading faster, of course, is a really big deal. And the other ones aren't actually that big of a deal, so you do get a temporary damage bonus after reloading. So this one's actually kind of nice because it gives you a damage boost, assuming you keep the mouse button clicked. This, as we're going to see, is not a super huge deal later, but it is an extra 10% reload speed. And then this, if you kill something, gives you more reload speed. So pretty much everything here is giving you more reload speed, except for this, which also gives you a bit of damage. But since we're reloading all the time, not just because the shotgun has very few bullets in the chamber, but because the shotgun's fire rate is actually quite fast. This might not be thematically accurate. I don't think shotguns actually fire this fast, but in any case, since the shotgun does fire quickly, you're reloading a lot. So yeah, this is it's just my favorite weapon gameplay. You're just really, really close to the enemies, shooting at them all the time. There's not stuff flying around killing things for you. It's just, you know, you and your gun. Now, we got a pretty tough one here. We don't want dragons. We don't want ghosts because we don't want summons. The magic lens, I just wish I could remove this from the game. I don't understand what the hell this is. You could take this, of course, the fire, but it's not super synergistic. So we're going to grab something from the ice tree just to prevent opening up a tree that we don't care about. It's an interesting illustration here, these early level ups, because it might seem like, well, there's tons of good upgrades. You know, why are you worried about unlocking upgrade trees? And this is why. You can see that, you know, apart from the freeze upgrade and the reload upgrade, which admittedly are two of the highest priority upgrades for this build, so I can't complain too much about my luck. If you're gonna be offered 4 crap things, then it's good if the 5th is something really useful. But yeah, apart from those, you know, you can see I'm getting this kind of useless stuff over and over, like the fire raid and the magic lens. Now I could take this from the armed and ready tree, but I don't care too much about this specific upgrade. If it was the other one, the one that also increased damage, I would do it. What I want to do now is unlock the magnetism tree, which may seem a little bit odd since we're so up close and personal. You know, wouldn't this be the build that cares the least about increasing pickup range? And that's true to some degree, but you can see that there are some experience orbs that get left behind. Even at the short range that the shotgun fires, it's not super uncommon that you kill an enemy, but then you have to like run away from the pack, and then you end up leaving some experience on the table. All right, so here's an interesting case where these are the 2 strongest upgrades. We definitely love the frostbite, and we definitely want this bullet damage increase. But I think with this build, you want to just unlock as many useful trees as possible and dilute the pool with useful stuff. So I'm actually considering these options here. The take aim, the bullet speed is not a huge deal, and the spread is actually not great. You don't really want to reduce your spread, but there is value to this piercing here, and we get damage over here. Plus, this is kind of helpful, especially when we get the explodey stuff later on. Even a tiny bullet that deals 10% damage could automatically kill an enemy below 20% HP. But I'm going to grab this now. This gives more bullet damage, and the knockback also is not to be underestimated because that can increase your survivability. Now, you could argue with this choice. You could say, well, you know what? Getting a 50% damage boost after reloading for 1 second is really, really strong, because after you reload, if you're keeping your left mouse button clicked, you're basically gonna get all your shots off in the next second. So it's sort of like a 50% damage boost permanently. You know, maybe I wouldn't be getting a little tight around the edges here if I had taken that ability. And that's a fair point. All right, so we could unlock the dark arts. That's totally fine, although this is just not something I'm particularly interested in. We could get this to shoot longer before reloading, which is perfectly fine, but I'm gonna take the opportunity to grab frostbite. I really like this because I really like doing 1% damage to bosses. It gives you a way to do a lot of damage to them over time, because I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but bosses, you know, they have a lot of health, just like a lot, and sometimes it can be a real challenge to chew through it all while still surviving. All right, we got some really tough choices here. We don't care about lightning and we don't care about health. We got the splinter though, which is something that I definitely want to have eventually, though in the moment all it would really do is just freeze enemies and knock them back a bit. I'm gonna unlock and we also have shatter, which is very, very good, because that can cause some chain reactions of frost damage. But I'm gonna unlock the movement tree, because here, you know, this is a very personal build. We are killing everything by shooting at it and being able to get around faster and also pick up the experience that's left behind, so level up faster to get new upgrades, I think is quite useful. Oh, okay, had to do a little bit of actual dexterity skill there. Notice how that enemy exploded even though I never shot at it. They explode and die if you kill them or if you get near them. So you can use that to your advantage. All right, there's some interesting stuff here. So the Holy Arts is a very interesting option because there is this right here. So the beginning is that when you reload, you do 20 damage to nearby enemies, which for this part of the game is not too bad. And then there's this, which makes it do 10 extra damage for every HP you have, which with our character would be 70 extra HP. The thing about this is that I've actually been, I kind of got obsessed with it for a while, and I tried to make like a shotgun holy smite thing work. And the thing is, it works for a while, but then eventually the damage doesn't keep up with the enemies. So it's not something that in the long term makes a big enough difference. And the other stuff, killing with smite, you get an extra healing, and killing enemies with smite gives you extra max HP, is just sort of irrelevant. So it's something that I would take later because it's not bad, and unlike say a summon, it's not totally useless. But right now, I'd either want the walk speed so I can move faster while shooting, or just more damage. And I'm going to take the damage because my damage is starting to trail off a little bit against these enemies. And on top of that, the bullet size is quite helpful. You know, bullet size is not to be underestimated because it makes it so that your bullets hit more things, which effectively increases your damage even further. Alright, so we have some interesting choices here. Lightning is useless, lens is useless, fire useless, so we're either taking more vision and more pickup range. The vision will be good when we get glare eventually. I like thematically how the glare works, where we're just this like angry anime girl who's just murder everything with her shotgun and her bare hands, and then we're also glaring things to death, but we don't have glare yet. So I'm gonna just grab this. It's just more damage. And the piercing, I don't know, it seems like the shotgun already pierces, so I'm not sure the piercing does anything, but it's still 20% more damage. Alright, so this is not a super great. Diamond's upgrades are actually maybe one of the weakest upgrades of all the characters in the game, and this one certainly is not super amazing. Basically, you have to take damage and then heal, and then you get a permanent bullets damage and bullet size increase, and you, of course, could lean into that. That's like her shtick is, you know, I get stronger when I get hurt. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger sort of a deal. Well, I almost got hit there. But I am just not going to lean into that. We're basically going to be playing with no help from that particular upgrade unless it happens by accident. In the health tree, the final upgrade heals you every 90 seconds. There are also runes that can cause you to get healed. So if you are playing with like the rune that causes you to start with half your health, and for big damage and reload bonuses, and then you have this other rune that heals you every so often, then like that actually becomes a much more useful upgrade. Alright, so we don't care about summons, we do not care about dodging. You can see there's just lots of useless upgrades here. So we can again get this thing, we can again get this, or the move speed and burn. That's an interesting one. I think we'll take the vision and the pickup range because, again, I just really like the pickup range. And I think that's the most useful thing here. Now you might say, Papa Boris, hold on, are you an idiot? Why wouldn't you want 2 extra bullets? That would double how much shooting you do before you run out of ammo. Eventually, I am hoping to get a special upgrade called Mini Clip. Mini Clip is one of those upgrades that isn't part of a tree. It's a one and done upgrade. And all those upgrades have a certain requirement. Like you basically have to have acquired some other upgrades in order for them to appear in the pool. What Mini Clip does is it dramatically increases your damage and your reload, but in exchange, it reduces the number of bullets in your chamber to 1, which is very good for the shotgun because with your quick reload, you can just fire repeatedly, and as we'll see later with the weapon evolution and a certain other upgrade, it helps quite a bit. In fact, there's a particular upgrade I'm waiting for. It's the one that increases your bullets at the expense of a little bit of damage, and it's just not showing up here. Instead, we got this again, we got this again, we got this again, we got this again. And this is not amazing because eventually it's not gonna matter, but I'm just gonna take it because I don't want to open any of the other trees. It's been a very interesting run so far here where I've gotten probably the most crucial upgrades. The frost and the reload, and the damage upgrade tree with the bullet size upgrades is nice too. But then I just keep getting the same garbage over and over, and I cannot get certain upgrades. So I just cannot get the bullet increase upgrade. It's just not happening today. Okay, this boss, I will actually take a moment to mention something else as well. One other reason that I like the frost tree so much is not just that it deals 1 damage to bosses, but that you notice how the boss made the sound effect but then didn't charge? If you freeze a boss, it cancels their move. Okay. Yeah, we'll take this. This is a 50% damage boost, and I didn't get anything else useful there. Right now, I am mainly interested in getting out of this corner, because that is a heck of a corner. Also, that the frost tree has the thing that makes you shoot those icicles every time you use your last ammo. So that is nice because I shoot those a lot, and that increases the odds of freezing the boss. I don't even have to necessarily hit the boss for the boss to get frozen and be interrupted. There was a while when I was playing this game when I just didn't understand why sometimes this boss seemed relatively easy and sometimes it was just a nightmare, and I finally realized it was because it mattered whether I had the frost or not. This is cool, but I think I'm actually going to take the double shot, finally. So I want to open up this tree. Now, this may seem a little bit weird. Why would you want to lower your bullet damage in a run where you're primarily focused on your bullet damage to kill things? Well, the reason is that when you get an extra projectile, it essentially adds an extra 100% to your damage, right? Whatever your bullets damage do, you get an extra of that when you get one projectile. And so that makes up for the minus 10% that your bullets do. Now, you might say for the shotgun, which fires a lot of bullets, each bullet gets minus 10%. And so that does further reduce the overall damage upgrade that you get for having the extra projectile. All I can say is I have found it to be worthwhile. Also, the two middle upgrades are insane. Shooting an additional bullet behind you and shooting bullets in a fan around you after every reload is really, really good. All right, we've got a tome here, so we can get more HP at the expense of dodge, which we don't care about. We can get this, and I think that's probably what it's going to be. Or the movement speed is also quite good. But since we have the speed upgrade, I think I'm going to grab the Tome of Power. The safer pick is the Tome of Vitality, which if I do get the Holy thing later, it synergizes with that. And there's something else somewhere, I think, that also synergizes with your HP. But this means that your bullets do an extra 50% damage. They're really big. You shoot slower, so you reload less often. But I think it's worth it. If you can see, these are very fat bullets. Alright, now we're getting to the part of the game where the most important thing is to kill the eyes. This weapon is pretty good at that. Notice, though, that even with my multitude of damage upgrades, I'm still not killing the eyes super great. Maybe this is a case where in the short term, that one upgrade that adds 2 bullets to your gun would have been helpful. Then I could shoot for longer before reloading. Well, speak of the devil, there it is. So do I want fire when moving around, faster reload, or extra fire rate when picking up XP? You know, I'm gonna take this. In the short term, I think that's what's gonna help me the most. And there's also, there's also no guarantee, oh god. There's no guarantee that I am going to get the mini clip. Now notice that because I am shooting longer, it means that I'm shooting out fewer icicles, and also, I think it takes more than a second to shoot out all my ammo, so that 50% in bonus after reloading doesn't last for all my shots. Alright, so we've got useless and useless. We can get fire movement. Again, we got the shatter and we've got the splinter. It's a tough one here because the shatter would help me right now, but the splinter, all the splinters would cause enemies to get frozen, and that would be helpful. That would help my survivability. I think I'm gonna take the splintering over the shattering, though I have some misgivings about that choice. All right, we're just trying to get over to the eyes and kill them. You know, in the short term, while I am shooting more bullets before reloading, it does reduce my movement speed as I walk around. So you can see that shooting twice as many bullets does not come without a cost. I'm moving around more slowly because when you're reloading, you get your full movement speed. Yeek, this is a tough one. So we got useless, useless, useless. So now I can just get this for extra fire rate, or I could take the Holy Shield. The Holy Shield's not bad. It does give some survivability in case things go south. And then of course, there's this one, which would make me move faster while the Holy Shield is active. But again, once things get bad and you lose your Holy Shield and you suddenly lose move speed and reload speed, it's really just a nightmare to deal with. I'm gonna keep that closed. I will just close out that tree and leave the Holy Shield in the pool. Oh man, all right, looks like I could use some damage. This is where mini clip would really come in handy because my damage at the moment is not quite keeping up with those eyes. And then when we get over to Trogdor the Burninator waves, those guys are going to be very tough to kill. Now, the good news is that we have a couple of minutes left before the Trogdors come, so I'm hoping that I find a way to deal with it. All right, we got Fanfire. This is cool. This is very, very cool, but we have been waiting for this for a while. I really want the bullet behind me, and I also want these bullets, because the Fanfire, you're going to see it now, you can see how that just shoots in a ring around you, and although it doesn't do very much damage, of course, they do a tiny % of your actual damage, the Fanfire can freeze enemies, and it also can knock them back. Remember that knockback is an effect of your bullets. So this is one of the favorite parts of the run. It's where enemies get really, really close to you, but never quite get in there. This is a tough one here. So we did get the mini clip, which would be great, but there's also glare here, and I do want the glare, because one of the reasons I'm as kind of tepid as I am at the moment is I haven't gotten this yet. I think it's the first time it's shown up. But I think I have to take mini clip. It's just too important not to take. So now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna shoot, and after every shot, I do my run out of ammo stuff, which includes the Fanfire, which I just got, and the icicles. So that just, between the bullets having the on-hit freeze effect and the icicles shooting out every time I empty my barrel, it just dramatically increases how much freezing I do. All right, so the interesting thing about the shotgun evolutions is that it seems like 2 of them just completely suck, and 1 of them is fine. So the safe one is dual wield. It just increases your max ammo, but it doesn't do anything because I have mini clip. And it gives you an extra shotgun that shoots behind you, which includes the full complement of bullets. This which I really want to make work. Wow, look at that damage. Wow, look at that bullet size. Wow, look at everything. But the problem is that it reduces the range of your bullets. It causes essentially your gun to shoot out a fan that hits everything in the arc. But the range reduction is brutal. I think I've lost runs because I picked this. And then there's this, which makes it so you only shoot a single projectile, and I don't think that's worth it. There's a part of me that wants to take this and say, well, look, all my projectiles will increase the bullet damage by 50, so I have 1 really fat, huge bullet. And maybe I should experiment with this off camera and take this one in the Darkness 15 run that I do if it turns out that it works. But we're just gonna go with the safe option. I mean, this is just so strong. You now shoot your full complement of bullets behind you, and you can probably already see how this ring of death around me is getting wider because the enemies just can't break through. You just kind of move your cursor in a slow circle around you, and since you're attacking in 2 directions, it means that as you kill 1 wave of enemies, anything sneaking up behind you also dies. Wow, this game is just determined to give me nothing but garbage. Garbage, mostly garbage, garbage, garbage. So we're gonna take the Shatter because it's an actually useful ability. So now when the enemies get frozen by my icicles that I shoot every time I shoot, and by the Fanfire that I shoot every time I shoot, and then the enemy dies, we get these chain reactions. And yeah, that I think widened the circle even further. All right, so things are looking a little hairy for a little while there. We did lose a health here, but now that we got the mini clip and the shotgun evolution, we are in business. We are set, and now we can just wait and get good stuff. So I do want this a lot. I want this a lot. However, we finally got the glare, and that's very nice because if enemies get close, they will take damage, and then once we get the second upgrade that makes glare do on-hit effects of your bullets, it'll mean that enemies that get close will get frozen even if I don't shoot them. And you can see the Fanfire and the icicles are making it very hard for anything to get close to me without getting frozen and or killed. But with the glare, it reduces that even further. And even if you argue that glare is not that strong, I think that just the fact that it's somewhat useful is worth having. The pool diluted with those useful things just because there's so many useless upgrades. All right, we'll take the Fusillade. You might say, Boris, this isn't worth it. For all your bullets to do 25% less damage, just to have 1 more bullet fired is not worth it. And maybe that's the case, but it's also doubling your base projectile, so it's actually more than just 1. I have a hard time defending it on principled grounds. All I can say is if you look at these fat bullets shooting out in a huge fan, it is empirically, in my experience, effective. But if you're nervous about it, you could win the run at this point without taking that. So even you can see the Trogdors cannot get close to me. I just sit tight, and with the reload speed, and the constant reloading, and the effects on reload. I'm a very strong lady. And if you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, you don't really need your HP. You've only been hit once. Let's say even you got hit like another time or something. You could have been a different character and had a bonus, maybe had some useful treasure chest from the mini-boss. That's absolutely true. There's one character that spawns swords when you reload. There's another character that spawns a black hole when you reload. There's a character that periodically turns into a deer and runs around immune and stampedes stuff. There's a character that summons tentacles that do damage. There's a lot of different cool things you could have gotten that would be helpful. Yikes. Okay, so it's either move and burn or walk. Let's go ahead and grab the move and burn. The reason for this is that since I only shoot one bullet now thanks to mini clip, my walk speed is just not active all that often. Like you can see, I can move around basically at normal speed because again, when you're reloading your weapon, you have your full movement speed. You're only at walk speed, which is reduced while firing. And since the shotgun fires quickly and I'm only shooting one bullet before reloading each time, I just am not in walk speed that much. So I will take that upgrade eventually, just because I don't want to open up bad upgrade trees. But it's not a priority. What I'm doing here is I'm just trying to get all these eyes. I don't care too much about the mini-boss. Also because anything that the mini-boss takes 1% of its max HP anytime it gets frozen. I'm not worried about it. You can try to be more precise than I'm being here and basically try to finagle it so that you're shooting away from the boss while the boss chases you. And that way you would be doing, you know, your full damage to the boss because you also shoot behind you with the weapon evolution. But I am not super worried about that optimization. I'm not trying to win any world records here for how quickly I take this down. Just trying to take down all the eyes. All right, there it is. We got some useful stuff here. The Holy Arts could be useful. The movement speed bonus is nice, and it increases bullet damage until you get hit. But we're gonna take Sight Magic, so that glare applies the on-hit effects of my bullets. That just means even more freezing. Anytime I'm near the boss and freeze it, it takes 1% of its health. And that is nice. You know, who knows how long that would have taken if I hadn't been doing 1% of its damage every freeze. Oh, look at that! Every time you get hit, permanently increases fire rate and reload. Whoopity-skippity-doo. Yeah, so that's Diamond's thing. I do wish that she had, you know, better chests, because she has high HP, and there are some synergies with HP. So in a way, she's unique, but I don't think that the HP synergies are that amazing. Like I said, I spent a lot of time trying to make the Holy Arts thing work. And basically, I have one with it. The way that you make the smite thing work is by not focusing on it. So you just get the smite upgrade, you just get the upgrade that makes you deal 10 damage per max HP whenever you reload. And then, for all your other upgrades, you just do what I'm doing here. You just, you know, you just play a normal game where you focus on damage and whatnot. So it's really just sort of like ends up being not its own build. You can't really call it like the Holy Smite build or anything like that because it's just a normal weapon shotgun build that handicaps itself taking 2 bad upgrades early in its career. All right, I am gonna grab Take Aim. It's a little bit questionable because you don't necessarily want to reduce your spread, but I do want the damage over here, and I do want the Assassin. That ends up being pretty significant. Of course, if you wanted to take the movement speed and the damage upgrade, you could. If you wanted to take the Holy Shield for some survivability, and for that bonus in the Holy Tree that further increases your reload speed and your move speed, you could do that as well. Thing is, I'm pretty fine on movement speed anyways. I'm not like hurting for movement speed, so I'm just not even concerned about unlocking that tree. I'd like to finish out the trees that I already have open. So as you can see, we're not, you know, the most lethal here. These Trogdors do take a while to die. Is it Trogzor or Trogdor? I think it's Trogdor, the Burninator. But now I'm doubting myself. I should Google that when I'm done. They take a little while to die. This isn't the most powerful build, but I also think it's just super fun how there's just these like mounds and mounds and mounds of enemies coming at you, but they cannot get up to you because of your frost aura. Okay, we got useless, 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 useless. Well, I guess we're taking more vision range and more damage from the glare. I'm not sure how much that matters, but it does mean that the enemies take damage before they get close to me, or they start taking damage sooner, I should say, as they approach me. All right, we're gonna have the second boss coming up soon, so it is a little bit scary that I haven't killed these guys, because what's gonna start happening is, you can kind of already see it, is we're gonna have these eyes, and I definitely need to kill the eyes, because it is quite tricky to maneuver around this boss when I'm also dodging projectiles all the time. So again, my focus is not on killing the boss. I'm perfectly happy to stay away from the boss and just work on killing the eyes. They might say, well, Papa Boris, if you just keep running around killing eyes, I mean, the game's just gonna keep spawning more eyes. Isn't that kind of a losing battle? And, well, we are doing trickle damage to the boss when we can, and on top of that, whenever enemies die near the boss, they shoot out in a splinter, and that can freeze the boss, and then the boss takes 1% of its damage when it does that. So more reload is interesting, but let's go ahead and just do this. Increase the vision range and also make the glare happen twice as often. So I can maybe clip the boss with my vision range every so often, and then that will trigger the on-hit effect, which is the freeze, and that can do 1% of its HP and damage and slowly bring it down. So this build, you know, every build has trade-offs in this game. Oops, I cut it a little close there. You know, this build isn't as powerful as the summons, and it isn't as powerful as the lightning SMGs. You know, you can kind of take that as a point of comparison. With the SMGs, we wouldn't have all these enemies here in a cluster. They would have died already. But on the plus side, nothing's dying off screen, so I get to collect all of the experience that I get. All right, we have the Electro, which I don't think I want because it's interesting. Call lightning on nearby enemies when you shoot your last ammo. And actually, I don't know, maybe? I don't really have any lightning synergy at all, but this does reload me even faster. So losing, you know, about 1/6 of my damage, but making up for it by calling on lightning, maybe. I don't think I want another Tome of Power. Well, maybe I do. Fire rate is irrelevant. Maybe I do just want another Tome of Power. This is probably the best choice, but for fun, I think I'm gonna take this. Don't try this at home. Whoa. Okay. That's kind of interesting. That's a lot wider of a range. Okay, that was definitely the right choice, because we're reloading all the time because of the mini clip. I did not realize that nearby meant covering the entire screen. I could have taken the curse there. That's probably one of the last useful things I could get. When it's half or below, oh god, yeah, geez, I keep forgetting how useless her upgrades are. Wow, that is a very significant tome. In fact, that is so strong, I wish I hadn't taken it, because it's just killing things too much now, and maybe we're kind of going against the spirit of the whole kill everything personally. I thought like nearby would mean like, you know, in your vision range or something. All right, well, I guess we're doing this now. So had I taken a Tome of Power, my bullets would have started doing another healthy chunk of damage, and they would have become a lot fatter. As it is, we're just murdering everything because of a single tome. All right, this is taking a long time, but we finally got an additional bullet behind me, which maybe doesn't even matter anymore. Maybe I should have taken the kill clip that makes it so that your reload speed is reduced by 5% for every enemy you killed. Since the last time you reloaded, since I am killing a lot of stuff with this lightning. Gotta say, it's very handy I got the pickup tree unlocked all the way, because I'm basically not seeing any experience on the board here. All right, a fun but surprising finish for me here. Oof, we got useless, 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 so we're taking the sniper. And that just increased my damage a little bit. The bullet speed maybe helps, I'm not sure. I am trying not to kill the trees. The trees have a ton of health, but if I stay in the same area, then they might eventually get whittled down by the lightning and also by being frozen. Actually, I don't know, can the trees get frozen? I'm actually not sure if they can get frozen or not. That's a piece of information I am not sure about. There's some experience over here. I'm still greedy, I still want the experience. If I have to kill the extra final boss at the end, so be it. I don't care about soul hearts, lens, health, or scythe, so we're taking the kill clip here. It's a very strong one. It can essentially make your reloading instant for a lot of the different builds in the game, because, I mean, we're playing with the mini clip, so we only have one bullet in the chamber, but obviously if you're playing with a quote-unquote normal weapon that shoots several times before reloading, or if you have like the lightning thing that it reloads ammo mid-shooting, you can basically kill so many enemies with one clip that your reload becomes instantaneous. That upgrade can be like a complete, you know, game maker for some of the builds in the game. Yeah, one thing I wish I had not done with the Tome of Electro, one reason is that I actually don't want to kill these trees, and I can't, even if I shoot away from them, they still get lightning damage over and over. I don't know, so maybe the fire rate, maybe? So that we get more bullet bouncing? I don't know. I could just take dodge or soul heart. All right, we'll take dodge. But at that point, the upgrades don't really matter. I'm actually not positive what upgrades are even left for me to care about. But the thing I definitely learned is that even if you are not playing an elemental build and you have no lightning synergy whatsoever, the Electro Tome is really sick, especially if you are playing with the lightning, because that's the one that makes it so that anytime you do lightning damage, there's a chance of reloading ammo. Oh no, never mind. What am I talking about? It triggers on reload, so no, it doesn't actually synergize with that. Right, the only reason I'm shooting as much as I am is the fact that I'm reloading constantly. All right, we got new trees. Nothing useful here. I guess we'll just take the arrow magic for some gusts of wind popping out, doing some extra damage. Oh, they go pretty far. Oh crud, they might actually kill stuff off screen, going against one of the principles of this run, which is we kill everything ourselves. Yeah, we kind of strayed from the path a little bit there at the end, didn't we, folks? Strayed a little bit from the path. Okay, the good news is the trees are hanging on in there, so I am hopefully not gonna have to fight the final boss. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk away from where I was and just trying to make sure that, oh hey, this is an actual useful, oh no, this is an actual useful upgrade. Thought I could have had this whole time. We're just gonna try to reduce the odds of killing a tree in the last 6 seconds here so the run can end instantly. There we go. A little bit low on the experience, actually. Only level 36 with 35 level ups. I think I've gotten like 40 with this before, but that would require, of course, killing all the stuff and probably getting the final boss as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.